You know that quiet moment in the garden shed or by the kitchen window when you spot it. A plant that once danced with life now slumped in its pot like it's whispered its last goodbye. Leaves yellowed and limp, stems soft where they should be firm, roots perhaps peeking out like they've been searching for mercy that never came. Most folks would toss it in the bin without a second thought, figuring the battle's lost. But not me. I've learned over seasons of tending windowsills and balcony corners that even the saddest plants carry a spark, a quiet will to fight back if you meet them halfway. And that little umbrella plant, my Schefflera, the one I call the gentle giant of the indoors, taught me this lesson better than any thriving fern ever could. It started on a drizzly afternoon last October, the kind of day common here in the temperate zones of Europe, where the light fades early and houseplants feel the weight of shorter days. I'd inherited this poor soul from a neighbour moving house, its pot crusted with old soil and the foliage reduced to a handful of sad, spotted leaves. What had brought it low? Could have been overwatering from well-meaning hands, or maybe a drafty spot near a radiator that sucked the moisture right out of its roots. Doesn't matter really. What counts is spotting that tiny green thread of hope still pulsing at the base. I decided right then to give it the revival treatment I've come to trust. The one that's pulled back pothos vines and fiddle-leaf figs from the brink more time than I can count. First things first, roots need breathing room, just like we do after a long winter. I eased the plant from its pot over a tray lined with newspaper, letting the old soil tumble away gently. No harsh shaking, just a soft rinse under lukewarm water from the tap, the kind that sat out overnight so the chlorine has time to fade. You'd be amazed how much gunk builds up in neglected pots. Compacted peat, bits of fertilizer salt, even the occasional fungal thread if humidity's been high. Cleaning it all off feels like lifting a blanket that's been smothering the plant for months. For Scheffleras especially, with their umbrella-like canopy of glossy leaflets, this step reveals the truth beneath. In my case, the roots were pale and stringy, a few still plump with promise, but most looking like they'd forgotten how to drink. That's when I reach for my quiet garden ally, the one I keep in a brown bottle on the shelf beside the compost bin. Plain old 3% hydrogen peroxide from the pharmacy. It's not some fancy elixir, just a simple solution that releases oxygen when it meets soil or water, giving tired roots a gentle boost without burning them. I mixed a teaspoon into about 1.5 liters of room temperature water. Nothing colder, mind you, or you risk shocking the plant further. Then I submerged those cleaned roots for a solid half hour, letting the fizz do its subtle work. Bubbles rose softly, like a whispered conversation between the peroxide and whatever microbes had been lingering. It's a trick I first tried years back on a wilting spider plant during a humid summer in the Midwest when I was visiting family across the pond. That one bounced back so vigorously it sent out babies within weeks, and I've never looked back. While the roots soaked, I turned my attention to the top growth. Scheffleras are forgiving in their way, but stressed cuttings can be tricky. I snipped a couple of the healthier stems, dipping the ends in the same peroxide mix before tucking them into a jar of plain water on a bright shelf. Not every attempt succeeds, mine didn't this time, turning mushy after a fortnight, but that's the soil's honest rhythm. Some plants pour their energy into survival below ground first, and that's all right. The main plant, though, was already showing faint signs of perking up, a subtle firmness returning to the petioles. Repotting came next, on a crisp morning when the light slanted just right through the greenhouse glass. I chose a terracotta pot a size larger than the old one, its porous walls helping wick away excess moisture. Perfect for folks in damper climates like the UK or Pacific Northwest, where mold loves to creep in. At the bottom went a handful of expanded clay pebbles. Not essential, but a nice buffer for drainage and a touch of weight to steady taller plants. Then came the soil mix, a light, peat-free blend I make myself from garden compost, perlite for airflow, and a sprinkle of worm castings for that slow-release nourishment. No heavy fertilizers yet. Revived plants need time to settle before you ask them to grow. I nestled the Schefflera in gently, keeping the crown just above the soil line. Bury it too deep and rot sneaks in before you notice, especially in cooler European winters when evaporation slows. A light watering followed, again with a dash of hydrogen peroxide per litre, just enough to moisten without soaking. From there, it's all about balance. I place it where indirect light filters in, avoiding harsh southern windows that might scorch new leaves. In the States, from Zone 5 gardens in the northeast to milder California spots, you adjust for your sun. East-facing sills work wonders in summer heat, while a grow light bridges those grey January days across the Atlantic. Weeks passed, and the transformation unfolded like a slow dawn. By early December, tiny variegated leaflets unfurled, those creamy edges catching the light in a way that made the whole plant feel reborn. I hardly touched the water, letting the top inch of soil dry between sips, tested with a finger pressed lightly into the mix. Overwatering is the silent killer for so many houseplants, especially in our centrally heated homes, where air turns dry as dust. But this method, clean start, oxygen nudge, thoughtful pot, shifts the odds. I've seen it revive monstera cuttings left too long in shipping boxes, or rubber plants battered by holiday guests who couldn't resist a fiddle. What makes this approach sing across seasons and borders is its simplicity, rooted in nature's own ways. Think about your own garden stories. Maybe it's that calathea that sulked through a hot spell last July, or the peace lily that dropped every bloom after a move to a new flat. The same principles apply. Assess the roots, rinse away the old burdens, offer a breath of oxygenated water, and repot with care. In warmer Mediterranean corners of Europe or the southern US, where summers bake the soil, I add extra perlite and shade the plant midday. Up north, in Scandinavian-style light-starved winters, a pebble tray beneath the pot raises humidity without drowning the roots. And for those tending balcony pots in windy city spots, a light mulch of bark chips holds moisture steady. Let me share a tale from my own patch that echoes this revival. Last spring, a beloved Ficus lyrata, fiddle-leaf fig to many, arrived at my door half dead from a flea market bargain gone wrong. Its leaves hung like wet rags, roots black at the tips from what I guessed was a too-wet nursery mix. I followed the same gentle dance, root wash, peroxide soak for 20 minutes this time to match its woody nature, then into a chunky soil blend with orchid bark for that extra aeration. Scheffleras and figs both crave. It sat quietly for a month on a north-facing ledge, and one sunny May morning the first new leaf emerged, thick, veined, and full of promise. By midsummer it stood proud, shading my herb seedlings and drawing in bees when I moved it outdoors for a spell. Of course, not every plant whispers yes right away. Some need coaxing through the darker months. Pests can creep in too, mealybugs clustering like tiny cotton balls on stressed stems. I handle them with a neem oil spray diluted in water, dabbed on with a soft cloth under the leaves, repeating every week until they vanish. It's kinder to the beneficial insects that visit my windowsill blooms. And if fungus gnats hover after repotting, a top dressing of sand or cinnamon powder discourages them without chemicals. These small fixes keep the revival from turning into another setback, building resilience that lasts. Timing matters more than you might think. Spring and early autumn are prime for such rescues here in the States and Europe, when light strengthens and plants stir from dormancy. Avoid the deep freeze of winter unless your space offers grow lights. The energy demand can overwhelm a weakened root system. In humid regions like the southeast US or coastal Britain, watch for soggy soil and ventilate with a small fan on low. Drier zones, think Mediterranean Spain or Arizona interiors, benefit from misting the leaves occasionally, but never in direct sun to avoid spots. Beyond the Schefflera, this revival spirit extends to a whole chorus of common houseplants. Spider plants send out pups that root in water like magic after a peroxide dip. Pothos vines, those trailing workhorses, forgive neglect with new growth in weeks. Even finicky prayer plants rebound when you trim back the worst leaves and give the rhizomes fresh air. I keep a notebook by the pots, jotting watering days and observations. Nothing fancy, just enough to spot patterns. One year, a string of pearl succulent I thought lost came roaring back after root cleaning, and a gritty cactus mix, its beads plumped up by autumn, cascading over the shelf edge like green pearls on a string. Soil health weaves through it all, that living web beneath the surface. I enrich my mixes with homemade compost from kitchen scraps and fallen leaves, teeming with microbes that support recovery. A handful of mycorrhizal fungi powder at repotting time helps roots forge new alliances, drawing nutrients deeper. It's the kind of quiet partnership that turns a pitiful specimen into a thriving companion, filtering air and lifting spirits through grey days. Troubleshooting becomes second nature once you've done it a few times. Yellow leaves? Often too much water or poor drainage. Ease up and check the roots. Brown tips? Dry air or fluoride in tap water. Let it sit out or switch to rainwater if you collect it. Drooping despite moist soil? Could be root rot sneaking in. That peroxide soak prevents it by oxidizing the bad stuff away. And if new growth looks pale, a weak compost tea every month or two gives a lift without overwhelming. As the months turn, the revived plant rewards patience in ways that feel almost magical. My Schefflera now stands taller, its leaves catching morning light like little green parasols. It's produced side shoots I've propagated for friends, each one carrying the story of that second chance. In summer, I move it to a sheltered patio spot, where it mingles with basil and marigolds, drawing pollinators that buzz between blooms. Come autumn, back indoors it goes, a living reminder that gardens, indoors or out, thrive on second chances. There's a deeper rhythm here, one that echoes through our own lives as gardeners. We plant seeds in hope, tend through storms, and sometimes watch things fade, only to witness rebirth. That's the soil's quiet teaching. Nothing is ever truly lost if we listen close enough. So next time you pause by a windowsill and see a plant that looks ready to quit, pause a moment longer. Clean those roots with care. Offer that gentle oxygen boost. Settle it into fresh earth and wait with open hands. The tiniest leaves might surprise you, unfurling like they were born anew under your watch. I've walked this path with dozens of plants over the years, from humble herbs to dramatic dracaenas, and each revival deepens the connection to the earth beneath our feet, or our floorboards. In community gardens across Europe, from allotment plots in Germany to rooftop oases in New York, folks swap stories of these rescues over cups of tea or coffee. One neighbour revived a dying aloe by the same method, now harvesting gel for sunburns after a hot spell. Another coaxed a croton back from winter blues, its fiery leaves brightening a dull corner through the holidays. Practical routines make it sustainable. I check my plants weekly, feeling the soil, noting light shifts as days lengthen or shorten. A misting bottle filled with rainwater lives handy for tropical types like the Schefflera, which hail from humid forests but adapt beautifully to our homes. Fertilizer waits until active growth resumes. Diluted seaweed extract in spring gives a natural nudge. And pruning? Snip off the truly dead bits to redirect energy, always with clean shears wiped in alcohol between cuts. For those in apartments without much outdoor space, This method turns a collection of pots into a living tapestry. Group plants by needs. Moisture lovers together on a tray, drought-tolerant ones on sunnier ledges. It creates microclimates that ease care and boost humidity naturally. In cooler zones, insulating pots with bubble wrap during cold snaps protects roots without fuss. What if the plant seems beyond hope at first glance? I've learned to trust my eyes and fingers more than doubt. If even one root looks viable or a bud hints at green, proceed. The worst that happens is you learn, and the compost bin gains a little more material to cycle back into the garden. Success builds confidence, turning beginners into stewards who spot potential where others see failure. Through it all, the hydrogen peroxide remains my steadfast helper. Not a cure-all, but a bridge over troubled roots. It's affordable, safe when diluted, and echoes the way nature aerates soil after rain. Paired with patience and observation, it's carried countless plants through to brighter days. As I sit here now, pen in hand, watching that same Schefflera sway gently in a breeze from the open window, I feel a swell of quiet gratitude. Gardens, big or small, indoor or out, are full of these quiet miracles. They ask little: clean hands, a steady gaze, a willingness to try, and give back worlds of green. So if there's a struggling soul on your sill today, gather your courage and a bit of peroxide. Give it that fresh start. Watch what unfolds. You might just find, as I have time and again, that the saddest plants hold the sweetest comebacks, reminding us all that life in the soil and in our hands always finds a way.